Butch, I know it's very disappointing for the Islanders and their fans that their time in the bubble is over, that they're out of the playoffs, but you have to at least give them a round of applause. I mean, they really put up a fight down 3-1 in this series. They were not going to go out without giving it their all.
Well, I think the organization can be extremely proud of what the Islanders presented. Certainly, they were underdogs in seemingly almost every series. And certainly they got behind with the Tampa series, but there's no quit in this group. And so that bodes well when you start to think about how far they went this year and the way they play and at times overmatched in this series, but they just weren't going to concede in any way, shape, or form. And Tampa Bay Lightning, they know they were in a series. They know they got away with maybe a win that could have gone the other way. They could have been playing seventh game just as easily. So I think when we hear from Barry Trotz, I think he's going to be very proud of his hockey team. Like as I said, the way they played is just a real credit to the stamina and the way the team feels about each other. I mean, it's just their DNA is something to behold, and everybody in the National Hockey League is talking about the Islanders and the way they play. And think about a high-scoring Tampa team, and they still have to get overtime to get a second goal. So it is disappointing because when you're in the bubble that long and you're committed that long, you want to try and stay there till the final buzzer, but it's not to be. But certainly something to build on. Yeah,
I think you touched on it there too. Around the NHL community, around North America, people really paying attention to the New York Islanders. We have the pleasure of watching them night in and night out, but it's exciting when the national media kind of catches on it. Really, the character and the fight that this team has. Let's kick it off with the first period action. Islanders wanted to have a good start, but before we get to that, AJ Mleczko, I know you're disappointed, but still an exciting game for the Islanders again, making this all the way to overtime, and it really could have gone either way.
It absolutely could have gone either way. And what's really impressive about the way the Islanders came out tonight is that they did start slow, but how they rebounded from that and how they built through the whole game. I mean, the first half of the game, first period and the first half of the second period, they were on their heels and really hanging on by a thread, in my opinion. Still had a 1-1 game at that point. And a lot of that is huge credit and kudos to Semyon Varlamov, who I thought was the MVP of the team tonight. He just made some tremendous saves and kept them in it time and time again. But, the Islanders had their chances. Tampa Bay had their chances that they didn't bury earlier. It was a great game, very even game back and forth. Incredibly disappointing for Islanders fans, but there is a lot to like. It's hard right now to focus on that, on the good, but there's a lot to build on moving forward.
Yeah, definitely a lot to build on. AJ, we're going to be catching up with you in just a little bit, but we do want to kind of go period by period for this Game 6 between the Islanders and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Finding out before the game even started that Adam Pelech was not going to play, but the defense really active, especially early on, and Devon Toews was able to get him on the board in the first period.
I like the way the defense responded tonight. I thought it was one of their better games, and when you lose your best defenseman, it certainly puts a whole lot of pressure on the other five, or six, because they dressed at 7 at times, and I thought Noah Dobson, just to talk about him, I thought he was very, very comfortable, had a very strong game. But Devon Toews, we were looking for the Islanders to get much more involved in the offensive play. Jumps towards the hole, gets a little bit of a bounce, and just circles the net and is able to give the Islanders a 1-0 lead. So it started in the corner, quick pass between Barzal and Anders Lee makes a nice little saucer pass, and he must have played some what we call playground hockey, because that's a playground goal. But that man there, one of the things I said before the game started is don't pass up a chance to take Victor Hedman out. Watch Anthony Beauvillier. Oh, sorry. And they pay the price. And Hedman is not only a tremendous defensive defenseman, he has great offensive skills, and you give him a chance in the slot. He doesn't miss all that often. He's a pretty good goal scorer when you think about it. And it's 1-1 after one.
Yeah, impressive performance by Victor Hedman in this postseason. This series, 4 goals, 2 assists, 9 postseason goals. Only 2 defensemen in NHL history have more than that. You can see here the list, and some impressive company with Brian Leetch and Paul Coffey there ahead of him, and still, potentially 7 games to go for the Tampa Bay Lightning. At the very least, they're going to have 4. So Hedman is a very impressive player for Tampa Bay, someone who definitely the Islanders had their eyes on and tried to contain him, but were just not able to do that. Cal Clutterbuck, another player from the Islanders who I think was really impressive, not only this series, but the entire postseason, and stepping into the role of playing on that top line with Barry Trotz, trying to mix things up a little bit. He was a determined forward there in the second frame of this one.
He really was. And, you know, this year he was a very healthy individual for the most part and had one of his best seasons. And he's a physical presence. I mean, I talk about when you have the opportunity, you got to finish your checks. And look at this. There's contact. And one thing about Kyle, he never turns away from anybody. And that was a great shot. And just rings it off the post. So, when you're playing with the top line, so to speak, you're going to look for a little bit more offense, but he never forgets who he is. He knows he's got to be that scrappy guy. He's got to play hard. He's got to be physical. And 12 hits and with 20 minutes of ice time, basically, and a little bit of offense. So, really good game and a good playoff series for certainly for Cal.
Yeah, it was fun to watch Cal Clutterbuck out there, and you could tell, especially in the situation they're in with the bubble and not having fans in the stands. You heard the announcers mention a couple times the chirping. Cal Clutterbuck is in on that chirping back and forth with the bench or on the ice before faceoffs and whatnot for the Islanders. So all of a sudden we get to the third period, and Butch, as the time is ticking down, I'm starting to feel a little deja vu. And then unfortunately another double minor situation, and you felt bad for Andy Green. I know he didn't intend to have a high sticking penalty there, didn't know that he was going to clip somebody, but that's what happens, and the Islanders had to kill this off.
Yeah, it was a little bit careless, and like you said, it wasn't really a high stick. The stick was there. Anthony Beauvillier's penalty the other night was a high stick, no doubt about it. He went to move his stick and missed it. You can see the despair on Andy Green, but you know what? On this particular scenario, Nelson could have ended it. I'm not sure why he went short side, but they had a couple of chances themselves on that power play. But to the Islanders' credit, they found a way to get the game involved in the overtime and certainly being able to kill that penalty. I mean, not once, but twice in a row in overtime games, you take a 4-minute minor for drawing blood. They must have got Kucherov to the bench and squeezed his nose to get the blood out of there, because I sure didn't see a whole lot of that.
Did that.
Well, I'm not sure, but I mean, yeah, it's a high stick and it's a penalty, and I get it. But you know what? I just think back to my days, and you would have had to stab somebody before you ever got a power play in overtime. So, it's a different game today, Shannon.
It is a different game.
I don't have to like all parts of the game today, but it certainly was, a great game, and certainly the Islanders. Real big kudos for being able to kill that double minor and then go on and give themselves some opportunities.
Okay, so as this first overtime is going on, AJ Malesko and I are watching in what we thought were our lucky seats for the game and have been for most of the postseason, and we're thinking, okay, is this going to go to another double overtime? And I really felt like the way it ended, it was unceremonious. It was kind of like, oh, wait, the puck's in the net, and Cirelli had the game winner, and that was it. That was all they needed to close this game out.
Well, they had a little bit of luck. Cirelli had the opportunity, and I believe it hits the post, and then it goes straight across the goal line, and Varlamov doesn't know where it is, and that's the only reason it stayed in the net, is that watch it hit the post, and then it just goes all the way across, and unluckily it rolls off the back skates of Varlamov. So you're a little unlucky there, but Cirelli all alone in front of the net, blown coverage by the Islanders, and the youngster who was hurt a little earlier in the game comes back and scores maybe the biggest goal of his career. Again, a tough loss, and you have to feel for Varlamov, who was the Islanders' best player tonight, no doubt about it. Had a tremendous playoff series from start to finish, and certainly gave the Islanders every opportunity to win this series and certainly win every game. But that's the way you want to do it. Find a game winner, and thank you very much.
Yeah, Anthony Cirelli, 3 goals and 3 assists in 19 games this postseason. As it said right there, he's sending the Tampa Bay Lightning to the Stanley Cup Finals, and they will play the Dallas Stars, and that should be a good matchup. I know Islanders fans are wishing it was a different matchup, but you know what? They made it to 6 games, and it was a lot of fun to watch them along this ride.